By day, Heinrich Schultz was a renowned flutist at the LA Philharmonic. By night, he was one of the most vicious serial killers in American history. And by the time the cops caught up with him, he was busy disposing of dismembered victim number 10. Me? I was just a 30-year-old construction worker who killed his alky brother-in-law because I was tired of seeing my sister with a new set of bruises every other day. Was it a crime of passion? Hell yeah. Considering the kind of scumbag he was, the worst thing I should have received was manslaughter. But the court didn't see it that way. 30 years imprisonment at Kirwan Correctional Facility. A nice little disciplinary resort, sequestered in the boondocks of Yucca Valley. As far as challenges were concerned, I faced a few at Kirwan. The Aryan Brotherhood, they were the scariest ones around. 4 of them caught up with me during shower period for a little love dance. And of course, the area happened to be conveniently deserted. 1 hour later, the guards returned to find 4 mounds of pounded flesh on the tiled floors, with small rivers of blood trickling down the shower drain. Believe it or not, I let them live. I wanted to send a message to those Nazis that if an unarmed naked man can do that, imagine what I could have done clothed and armed. But I guess the most important reason was I wanted to prove to the law, and maybe to myself, that I wasn't a killer. Everyone gave me space after that. Everyone knew Douglas Quaid was untouchable. But I wasn't immune to the pains of isolation and how time in a cage seems to stretch like a rubber band. My 5th year anniversary there started off with a bang when my bunkmate overdosed on the smack he was selling. A week later, I was kicking back in my chair reading a Dashiell Hammett novel. I was pretending I was Sam Spade trying to romance the femme fatale. I heard my cage open. And when I looked up, there was Heinrich Schultz. Thin, blonde, oily hair that glistened under the fluorescence. A weak chin and fish-like lips. His bulging eyes were like huge marbles that seemed to devour everything that caught their attention. Oh, they were hungry eyes, with absolutely no soul to them whatsoever. He just sauntered inside as though he was checking into the Hilton. I lived with some mean lifers in that cell, but this guy was a freak of nature. People stayed away from him, which was weird because rapists and child molesters were usually the first ones to be shanked in any prison, especially a small guy like Schultz. But there was an unholy stare about him that was just cold and foul. And he was all casual, nonchalant, hands in pockets, and he was always had that sickly, carefree grin on his face. He strolled through the days here as though the rules didn't exist, like they were irrelevant to him. Of course, in prison, there's always some wise guy trying to prove he's the biggest, baddest dude around. You know, the type that always talks and talks and talks about what a mean mother he was out in the real world, but was probably sentenced for something tame like Brent breaking and entering. Brett Heflin's crime was drug possession. That meth head had the loudest mouth ever, and when he saw Schultz, he knew a chance when he saw it. Schultz was assigned to laundry detail. One day, Heflin followed him to the supply room, shiv in hand. 2 went in. 1 came out. Schultz, spotless as when he first arrived at Kirwan. It wasn't until the shift ended that the guards finally discovered Heflin. Minus eyes, ears, nose, windpipe, privates. Schultz's reputation was solidified there after that. And God help me, that little psychopath was my bunkmate. But we respected each other's space in total silence, though. I have to admit, after a couple of weeks, I kind of gotten used to him. Schultz always went outside and sat on the stone steps. He just closed his eyes and smiled, sometimes swaying his head back and forth. When we returned to the cells, he would climb on the spare chair and stare out the window, looking at the sunset. Even though the window had bars lined with a lick sunscreen, you can still catch the peach-colored rays in our little room. After 2 months, he finally made a sound. I just returned from my walk in the yard, and I was reading this book called Voices from Dungarvan. It's a story that takes place in a small Irish fishing village. And I have to say, every time I read this book, I was there. I mean, I saw the weathered fishermen lug their nets to the boats. I heard the innocent laughter of the schoolgirls as they played on the rough cobbled streets. I felt the spring wind caress my face. And I smelled that salty ocean air, felt it fill my lungs, re-energizing me, making me dream that this little village could somehow swallow me up, not giving a damn who I was, just to help me bury my sins. And it was that point that I heard him whistle. It was at that point, that very first time, that I heard the horrible, beautiful music of Heinrich Schultz. Little footnote here. This was published as an ebook on Unsealed Press. And if you're interested in finding out if Douglas Quaid finds redemption or damnation, I shamelessly pass my cards around, which has my website address. If you go to the Publications Planet, you'll know what I'm talking about when you go on the webpage. On the right side, you'll see the list of publications, chamber music. There is a link for Amazon Kindle. It's available on that, as well as the Unsealed Press website. In the meantime, I will say one thing. This had the opportunity of, I was honored that it was read at the New Short Fiction Series in Beverly Hills last October. And it was read, it was a finale read by a talented actor named Robert Stanley. And I do hope that you would have the chance to read this story, but most importantly, enjoy it. Again, it's chamber music. My name is Peter Balaskas. Thank you very much.